And we're stream it.
We're up.
Mm-hmm. Hello, YouTube.
Hello.
Did anybody see that episode of Twilight Zone where they cut off that guy's tongue and put it in a jar and it didn't die, it just grew and pulsated into little baby tongues?
The tongue did?
Dude, how do you not know that?
I forget about baby tongues.
Oh, goddamn.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan podcast.
Joe Rogan?
I had the idea to change Afro Man from the Afro Man podcast to the Afro Man podcast.
Or we could just call it the Joe Rogan podcast with Afro Man.
Ooh.
Try to capitalize.
You might have a problem with that.
Yeah. Maybe if we spelled Joe wrong. Joe-O. Spelled
J-O.
Then spell, yeah. And then
J-O-W.
R-O-G-E-N.
Like toe?
Like,
Yeah, like Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do this shit.
All right, I'm going to play that theme music if you're ready.
Play that theme music like we always do. What's up, YouTube?
The following podcast is scheduled for one fall, and there will be no disqualifications. Making their way to the ring from lineupmedia.fm at a combined weight of 849 pounds, the Three Horsemen.
And we're back. We are back.
We are.
Three full horsemen in the same room, same time. Big Easy
It's good to be back.
rejoins the program. T.O. is here.
Finally. Sorry.
Corey is here. Not talking politics, simply talking pro wrestling. And we're finally to our sweet spot, the Attitude Era. The Monday Night Wars. The biggest time in the history of the business.
I just have $1 million idea.
What is it?
If the WWE did a bunch of shows and DVDs and maybe even did like a series called the Monday Night Wars.
Why not?
I've been watching that, getting ready for this.
Have you?
Yeah, just to see how they rewrote history. It's pretty much been rewritten.
They have a history of doing that.
A rewritten history of doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't they just recently try to erase Hulk Hogan from existence, but now they're getting kind of back together?
I'd say it's getting there. I don't know, man. People don't seem to forgive that very easily these days.
Racism?
Well, I take it back. There's about half and half. Some don't care.
Yeah, I think they're
care a lot.
wanting him to be an international ambassador. Was
Who,
the
Hogan?
last I read. Yeah, like to
Is it because he's rich
I know
now?
what countries are not sending him to.
Australia and some of those countries is what they were saying.
Good country.
Yeah.
Great country. Russia. Some places like that.
Everything kills you in Australia, though.
Like what?
Like every fucking snake, spider, alligator,
Kangaroos.
kangaroo thing. Anything you can think of will kill you down there.
A lot of that stuff in,
Dude,
Oh yeah.
everything that can kill you is in Australia.
really?
Yeah, it's bad.
What's the bad spider? Brown?
Brown recluse is one. That's
There we
around
go.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of bad spiders, man.
It's a bad
all
deal.
of them,
They have
really.
sharks.
Yeah, they got sharks. They got the Great Barrier Reef down there. Lots
Yeah.
of great white sharks attacks on
The
them.
Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, it's this whole big thing. You can see it from space.
Surprised there was never a wrestler named that.
The Great Barrier Reef?
Yeah.
There is some weed called
imagine
Great
if we-
Barrier Reefer.
I imagine if we go back in time.
No,
The
there's
Great
not.
Barrier Reefer.
No, there's not. That'd be cool.
See, make that.
Anything else going on with you gents?
No.
Anything worth discussing?
Yeah.
Let's take the time to let you all know. If you want to follow us, facebook.com, numeral 3 Horsemen Show,
Backslash.
Not boys.
backslash.
We're not the Three Horse Boys.
Twitter.com, backslash, numeral 3 Horsemen Show.
I got to be specific. That's a /.
Fine, forward,
/
whatever.
backslash?
Yeah, it's whatever
Yeah, because
direction.
it's tilting forward.
That's exactly right. And the
Guess I
backslash
should
is
look.
tilting back.
The bottom.
Well, he was the one that yelled at me about the backslash. I had to correct myself.
We strive for blah 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 here.
And YouTube.com, if you've already found us, you know where we're at. Like us, subscribe. We keep talking like we're going to get guests. I guess we should get on that one day. We just enjoy talking amongst ourselves.
Nobody is better than us.
I'll give you yet another topic.
Should also go to our network, lineupmedia.fm.
I heard of them.
Check out the list of shows we have. Everett has a show on there. Surreal Talk.
I'm wearing the lineup shirt today. So
Yes.
represent.
Colts and Conspiracy.
I'm representing Under Armour.
Corey and I also started a new show. It's a daily sports show. It's called The Starting Lineup.
How clever.
Yeah, we're just kind of...
Where'd you come up with that?
We're smart. So...
Oh, I am.
Objection.
Go to lineupmedia.fm and check out the line of podcasts we have. We'll also be rolling out an app that is, has it's going to be a pretty cool shit, and we'll leave it at that.
Boy, I tell you what, I couldn't have written that any better.
Yeah, I couldn't have read that any better.
There you go.
But if you're looking for a podcast, I guarantee you have my guarantee that if you go to lineupmedia.fm, you'll find someone or something or a podcast that'll tickle your fancy.
Oh, God damn it. We got you doing commercials
I
for
was gonna
lineup
say,
now.
are you done yet?
Lineup is through.
Jesus.
If Tio's our marketing guy.
All right. It's super fucking early on a Friday morning. It's beautiful out. I hate it. It's time to
I hate beauty too.
we've been working our way up to this. I've actually enjoyed this group of shows. We've gone from McMahon taking over the territories. We're now to the war between WWF and WCW, which we talk about a lot, which seems
The Great
to be
War.
This is the heart of wrestling fans. This is what T.O. and I were talking about yesterday when you were absent on assignment.
Yep.
Or was it yesterday or was it the day before?
Day before.
Day before.
Wednesday, I guess, yeah.
This is the sweet spot for everybody, even Twitter. I mean, it's crazy that that's who dominates. I would think it would be the younger
20
crowd, and I
years
guess
ago.
it is, really.
Roughly what, 20 years ago when this war started?
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
20 plus.
You old fucks.
I know.
I can't
Isn't it crazy? This is our teenage years. This is why we look back on it so fondly, but
This is why you got beat up in high school.
something like that. Something like that. This was actually when it was popular. What we're going to cover today, we're basically starting with the Monday Nitro and Raw getting kick-started, but we're jumping ahead to Nash and Hall, jumping to WCW, and we're going to take it all the way up to about WrestleMania 14. We're going to two-part this thing, and well, let's go. Let's get to it.
Well, if we're starting with not Hall and Nash, is that what you said?
Yep.
Was there any better start to an angle than the way they played that with Hall coming out of the crowd dressed in like the jean fucking vest and jean shorts?
Fanny pack.
Hey, yo, you want a war? Okay, I'm Sylvester Stallone now, but
Yeah, you really.
That was
Pretty close.
that was great, dude. I honestly thought as a dumb kid, what the fuck is going on here? Why is he on this show? I didn't realize he was contracted WCW just like the rest of them.
Did you really, same T.O., did you really think I wasn't watching WWF? And you go back and you see that, and they got lucky. Their contracts their contracts are up a week apart, and they both work Madison Square Garden. They have the curtain call. They have the whole deal. So
But what you have to remember, the curtain call at that time, you don't know about it because there's no
New York
YouTube.
knows about it.
But that's it.
Yeah.
The word of that did not travel unless you had the Meltzer report. I mean, like, you got to remember, like, how many people actually subscribe to the newsletters? Especially high school kids. You're not shelling out $10 a week or whatever it is.
I wouldn't say anybody in high school was really watching. I shouldn't.
Dude, there were a lot of people watching when this started.
Guilty.
I was.
Well, look at the ratings, and there weren't as many people watching.
Well, obviously not as many as it got there, but that's what started all this. And what like you said, what WCW did correctly, they played it as a shoot. They made it appear that what's he doing here?
Nailed it.
Larry Zbyszko's idea for him to come through the crowd.
Good job,
hey,
Larry.
They could have ruined it right away if he came from the back.
Yes.
Or if... I mean, I just think that would have been...
Well, you wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
You believe it way easier that he's storming the building, coming through the crowd.
Yeah.
Bought a ticket.
It's Denim Dan.
Just sitting
pretty
there.
much.
Yeah. And then referring to him as his real name, not giving him a cheesy...
Didn't say his name.
No.
Well, at first, yeah, they didn't say anything, and then they start calling him the outsider.
That outsider.
Yeah.
Like, just by the simple verbiage of and wordplay, they made it seem more real.
Yeah, authentic.
Yeah.
For sure.
They did a good job with that, and that's one of the few things that they did right.
Right.
The slow burn on that angle was so good.
So you get Hall in, but you get Nash in too. And if Twitter existed, if memes existed, this might have died week 2. My eyes looking at it now. When he says, look at the adjective, play, they would have killed him for saying that now. Because it's already, it's still a meme. It's still a saying 21 years later. It's obviously not an adjective. It's a verb.
True.
I mean, smart people would have been like, you dumbass. And he's a smart dude. But when he comes out and says that, I can't believe you. Do you guys not know what I'm talking about?
Nash, when he's on stage.
When they confront Bischoff and they say,
yeah.
this is where the big boys play, huh? Look at the adjective. Play. No.
It would have been big. It
It wouldn't have been.
Look at the adjective. Big.
Oh, I love that.
The thing is with Nash, he might have done that on purpose. He's so smart.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him
Make himself look like a dummy.
I've never seen anyone ask him that question, though. It's now that you say that, I've never even thought about it.
Oh, that everybody talks about. That's a shirt, I think.
To your point, though, if the internet was around like it is today,
they buried him.
That whole angle's done because you know he's showing up that night. You know his contract's up with WWE. I mean, like,
right.
You know all these things.
Yeah.
The element of surprise was what kept, and I don't care what anyone says, that's what WCW had going for them. You would watch Monday Nitro to see who's going to show up.
And they ruined that for WWF, too, because they were live. They had the ability to be surprising. WWF recorded, and many times did they play or say what the results of the other show
See,
is.
that really happened. They would throw that out. They did it one time.
And that killed them.
It did, but they make it like, they would go out every week and tell them.
Yeah.
And and that's no. And that's what they've convinced people that they did. That's why we lost for so long. They'd come out and read the result. Well, not. I mean,
the only time I
didn't.
ever remember him doing it is when Foley won the championship.
Mick Foley, yeah.
And they shit on Foley, and like they said, immediately they lost like
I know that time.
a shit ton of viewers because everybody wanted to see Foley win the belt.
The other time was the second Nitro ever. They said Michaels beats Sid Vicious with a super kick and a couple other boring. It was bad. But I mean, I wasn't watching. I kind of got interested because there were 2 shows, but they were on at different times. Each show was an hour, and I go back and look at that Raw.
Raw was
that show
so bad.
was horrible.
Yeah,
and they talk about the beginnings of Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw was never good.
no, and the thing was
I'm sorry, was never good. Was never good up until
because
Nitro got going.
They had like squash matches. That's all it really was. Is they would have the main event would be like 2 mid-carders.
Yeah, Fatu the Rapper takes on Sid Vicious.
I remember like the one main event that was good was Flair Perfect.
Yeah, I was not watching that. I remember a couple things, but bad. But once Nash and Hall get going, and then, okay, let's pose this question. If Hogan doesn't join the NWO, it's Sting instead. How's that go?
It doesn't go as far.
The only reason they had the bite, though, is because it's way bigger heel turn for Hogan than Sting. Way bigger.
That's a huge deal. The heel turn of Hogan combined with the NWO takes it 2-3 more levels.
Yep.
If it's Sting,
Right on.
I don't. The problem is if
It's big down there.
but if
in the
it's-
South.
yeah. But if it's Sting, there's less. You still have Hogan who's calling the shots, and I think what happens ultimately is it's just another heel machine that gets fed to Hogan.
Well, it's that too, but Hogan, you never really thought of him as a WCW guy. He was an outsider just like those other guys who had been there for a year or two.
You know he didn't want to do it though. I mean,
Well, of
like
course
they
he
had to
didn't wanna
talk him
do
into doing it the night of.
Fair enough, but it's why it wouldn't work so well with Sting. Sting wasn't an outsider. He would have just been a turncoat, you know. Oh,
Yeah.
now he's slimy. Hogan, you son of a bitch, we thought you were with us, you know.
Well,
Now
you still would have got the fucking boring ass Hogan stuff. Where keep in mind too, Hogan was getting booed big time in a lot of places.
fair enough.
And that was like someone had to convince him, like, do you not hear 50% of the crowd booing you? And it wasn't like the Cena heat. It was just like, fuck,
Tired of
this
this
is
guy,
boring. We're tired of this. Like,
Grown stale.
And that's kind of what I think. Was it Sullivan got across to him? Didn't they make him stay the night at
Sullivan
Sullivan's
Bischoff.
house?
Yeah, that's the story.
What they make him do?
Like he was like, I can't do it, and they made him stay. Like the night before, they like can't remember whose house it was.
Oh,
but
so he
they-
didn't fucking run away and not do the angle?
No, and up until
That's the story
up
of it.
until the match, right? They still had the backup plan of Sting to turn because they
they
thought,
say he took a private jet or chartered a plane into Daytona Beach. Is where Bash at the Beach was.
yeah.
If it's not him, it doesn't get national attention. Like people to flip over. Because I remember hearing like or reading. I don't know. I can't remember how it happened. I know I didn't see it because we weren't getting pay-per-views for that back then. But it's like Hogan's a bad guy now. I'm like, I got to see this. Because I never saw him as a bad guy when I was a kid.
No.
Nobody
No.
saw him as a bad guy when we were
Unless
kids.
you saw
for-
Rocky 3 and nobody really...
Yeah, before that, nobody was watching. I mean, fuck. He and Andre had gone 50 times before they wrestled at WrestleMania 3, but nobody knew. Not most people didn't know. So they get going, and I start tuning in. Did you guys?
Yeah,
Were you watching anyway?
Yeah.
You know, I
already-
wasn't watching it.
I was watching that pay-per-view that night whenever it happened.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, goddamn.
I remember
Somebody's popular.
I didn't understand what NWO stood for because people were like, because didn't Hogan call it the New World Organization
First.
the first time? And
They've
then,
even
like,
edited that to where he says
yeah.
where.
And I remember there was kind of some confusion on what the NWO was. So, like, I remember watching it a couple weeks after that because I had heard about it. But I did watch, like, the Hall and Nash parts of it. So I guess I probably did watch it that night. I just don't remember. But I tell you what, the heat that got right away, I mean, that ring was littered with shit.
Oh, bottles and all kinds of debris. Yeah.
And I mean,
he says, you fans can stick it.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to tell me I can stick it? Have an empty 20-ouncer, pal.
yeah, and Florida people, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's the
Fucking
other
cans of
element.
chew, probably.
But can
No
you
offense.
Whoa.
No offense.
Shit, I'd have been trying to catch him.
do you
Well, not full. I mean, nobody gets rednecks.
Never mind.
Do you remember how the rings would just be littered at first when the NWO would come out?
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, like, there would be
I think
20,
I
30
think they
plants.
have guys. I'm pretty sure.
And I don't know. People
Just to
were
throw shit in the
pissed.
ring,
That-
you'd
that
be
ma- that doesn't
thrown
make-
out immediately.
Fair enough. I agree with Corey kind of. There, at least most of them were probably plants to get the audience going.
There you go.
But
All you gotta do
yeah.
is put 10 people.
Yeah, but that's pack mentality. You see 2 or 3 guys do it, you got somebody going, "Oh fuck, they're doing it. I'm throwing something."
Well, that's
too."
what happened with the whole chair incident with was it the Dudleys that one time? ECW?
Terry Funk.
Oh yeah, Terry Funk. That's right. Give me a chair, then fucking 90 chairs in the ring. It was great.
Yeah.
Well, the great one at
covered.
Bash at the Beach is when the guy gets in and fucking Nash just decks him.
Yeah.
Just blows that and Hall kicks him in the face on the way out. I don't think that guy was a plant. I'm pretty sure he was pissed. I do miss that. No,
So,
I don't.
Did you ever? So I mean, like today, and this is part of the problem with wrestling today. The element of surprise. You can't watch any event and know. I mean, I remember.
You mean you're not surprised when some guy comes up from NXT?
No, the biggest thing I can compare it to is finding out Lesnar signs with WWE, his first time back. And we see it, and it's like, oh, okay, he's going to show up at WrestleMania.
Well, see, it was exactly during this time whenever the wrestling websites started popping up and gaining popularity. And in my opinion, and Corey says they've lasted or been a little longer, I guess, on the East Coast, but the Smark. The commonality of the smart mark who knows things that are happening. So I remember when WrestleZone first came out, it was like 1997, 1996, or at least when I first found it. And it was crazy to have daily 10 to 15 stories fed to me about, who's doing what and what fed. Results were easily, just good articles and everything. To me, it was the whole next level of wrestling.
It really was.
It started making it more interactive. There was chat rooms you could instantly get on and talk to people about what's going on and bitch at people because their wrestler sucks and yours is better.
But I think it got more people to it because you could interact. You could be a dork and be like, oh, good, I can talk wrestling now.
Yeah, that was me.
No. I don't mean it like that. I mean, it got more people, though. More.
No, agreed.
And you didn't know who you were talking to. You still don't.
Meat Rock at 8.
Of course. It's funny that guy is always
I have him on speed dial.
there.
Yeah.
He is everywhere.
He was in a lot of chat rooms.
Well, he's a friend.
Yeah.
No, that's a joke.
So,
friend of the show. Okay, well, here's what... Not a friend of the show, okay.
Chris Hansen, we like him better.
So WWF
man
goes at this... Austin, they act like Austin did the promo, and then he was immediately stoned. It's not the way it happened at all.
You're talking about the King of the Ring promo?
Yes, that's not what happened. He did it. He won the King of the Ring. He's going to get a better push.
Didn't he have a Jake Roberts thing right then?
So he beat.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the King of the Ring.
Okay, that's right.
He went off what Roberts had been doing, the born again angle. But they fight back with Hall and Nash with fake Razor and fake Diesel.
Okay, so who played fake Razor?
Fake Razor. Why'd you do that to me? I want to say it's Salsons or I can't think of his name.
Salvatore. Yeah.
I know who Diesel's played by. Diesel's played by Kane.
Yeah, it's Glenn Jacobs for that one.
Correct.
Let's see. Rick Bogner?
Rick Bogner, thank you. Who would go on to be... Come on.
I don't know. I really don't know who.
Bogner went on and did some more things. I don't know.
Rick Titan, Mega Mask, Razor Rick.
Yeah.
Razor Rick. Razor, Rick Moan, Chico.
He definitely did Razor. Did he really not do anything else?
No, man. His Wikipedia is just... His ring names were Big Titan, Fake Razor Ramon, which I don't think was his ring name. Rick Titan, T-Do, T-I-D-O. 2 words, weird. Mega Mask.
All he did was New Japan, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
So what's funny is, I don't know if you covered it while I was gone, Bischoff was so worried that, because it leaked rumors. They said, Razor Ramon and Diesel will be back here next week. They do this. So they freak out and they think, are you guys leaving? And they give him more money. He goes, we just didn't really say much. He just kept talking and they asked if we wanted more, and he goes, we ended up signing new contracts that day.
That's awesome.
Do you imagine that?
I wish, man.
If that story's true, those guys have got to be the dumbest. Because they were just on, and I can't name what kind of contracts they are. They could opt out.
They were on escalator contracts where they had to be tied. If someone came in and got a higher salary than them, they had to be.
That was favored nations.
They had to be within 5% of that contract. So every time they brought someone in new with a higher deal,
that's awesome.
They got that money.
Every time they brought Rodman in, they'd get paid what Rodman got. Favored nations.
That's awesome. That's what it was.
Well, good for them, man.
But they were also on a contract where they could opt out at any time. They were tied to WCW, but they could just leave at any time. So they went in and just tied them up more and said, here's an extra $300,000, whatever, a year. Isn't that crazy?
Gave them more money and cut their dates also, I'm wanting to say.
Yeah. 150 dates.
Yeah.
Sting money.
Man.
But at this time, also, and I want to know what you guys think about this angle, the Pillman gun angle. This is where I thought Austin kind of got going.
I'd agree with you. That was a funny angle. That was the time Austin, was the crazy stalker. He's at Brian Pillman's house in Cincinnati or wherever. Mm-hmm. And he's beating on the doors, rattling the windows, the wife's screaming on the inside.
Throws the guy in the baby pool.
Pillman's sitting in his chair with a broken leg or two, whatever that was. And
didn't they break to
Austin 360?
Did they end the segment with
Pillman.
Gunshots?
Yeah.
Wasn't there gunshots and it goes black?
You could hear it.
Could you imagine them even doing anything with a toy gun right now, storyline-wise?
No. Could you imagine?
Time.
God.
It's a different time.
Oh.
I mean,
I love that.
So, again, I think that was one of the things that got, because Stone Cold was over. Mm-hmm. I mean, like from the Bret Hart match, and he had all that momentum going. But that was what catapulted him into the Mr. McMahon stuff. And that transition from Pillman
to Hart.
Yes, to Stunning. I mean, it was this build. Now, when did he get hurt in that line, in that sequence?
He didn't get hurt until August of 97, which we will get to.
That was the Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
The
SummerSlam.
Yeah, like the inverted tombstone that he...
SummerSlam in 97. So he ran... He really had about a year run where he got...
that's kind of the point I'm wanting to make. He was popular, cult popular, but...
He was not built.
He wasn't main eventing. He was fucking going with Owen Hart for the IC title. Mm-hmm. And people forget that, too. They think that, Monday Night Wars, Austin's the champ, he's the guy... Rock's number 2, not true.
Rock was still doing his Nation of Domination shit at the time, right?
He might have been Rocky Johnson at that time.
Rocky Maivia debuted at Survivor Series 96, which is when Austin wrestled Hart the first time.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was all these guys that they were building, and then DX kind of comes as an answer to the NWO later on, but there was still some shit going on.
Yeah, that was a hell of a steal of a storyline there, but they worked it. They worked it right.
Very much so.
But that's why NWO and WCW was kicking ass so much, is because WWF was still putting out some shit.
Well, WWF was still putting out shit, but they also started losing those name. They lost Piper. Piper comes in. They run that whole thing.
Oh, that's a good
December,
point. They
January.
lost all the old guard, more or less.
They lost Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig goes over, starts
Rick
the
Rude,
Horseman
Ted
angle.
DiBiase.
Rude was on 2 TV shows at one time.
Rude's later, yeah. DiBiase is a big one because he came in
as the financial backer of the
number
NWO.
5 in the NWO, right? Followed by X-Pac for number 6.
I mean, Virgil,
for Christ's sakes. What do they call him over there?
Fuck money.
Vincent,
that's right.
He was Virgil in WWF because of Dusty Rhodes' name, Virgil Reynolds.
All right.
He goes to the WCW. They make him Vincent because Vince McMahon. It's fucking great. And if you did, I would have never known that.
I didn't know that.
I had no idea.
All I know about him is he apparently has a ginormous dong.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's the rumor.
Him and Batista get together, and they try to see who touches each other first.
Right.
They have sword fights.
Sword fights. But this is the NWO continues to get bigger. What did you guys think? Did you like the NWO?
Yeah. No. At the time, I love the angle, and I love to see what happens. I don't think I was really invested in any of the characters as I care who wins. I just like the whole thing.
The angle is good. I remember always thinking, how are they going to take them down? Who's going to be the guy?
Well, they're thugs, yeah. Who's going to...
They never did. 5 years later, they never did. There was never
They pretty much
end.
diluted themselves to nothing.
Mike, I raised the question of did you like the NWO because were you still rooting for the good guys? Either way, WWF, WCW, had you started to like the cool bad guy yet?
Yeah, probably. Just starting to. You could probably thank the NWO a little bit then kind of for priming us up for Austin then, if you look at it in that way.
Very much so. Oh, you can thank a lot of things. I mean, Hart, everything he did with the Canada angle, which we'll get to.
True.
But
I don't know. I hated him during that.
NWO, Hall and Nash, I don't want to say ruined things, but they made it to where I was like, oh, dude, these guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
They'd come out.
They didn't give two shits.
They'd do the black and white stuff. Remember how different that kind of was? They'd have the empty arena matches.
You remember Sold Out? That pay-per-view was all black and white. God. That was horrible.
And it only got bigger from there. Somehow that didn't kill them.
Yeah.
That's February of 97.
Yep.
In Iowa, wasn't it? Somewhere in Iowa.
Somewhere horrible.
Like Iowa, Sioux City or something. Wherever.
Bettendorf.
Yeah. Des Moines or Bettendorf, probably.
But
Quad Cities.
and I put it in the notes. This also happened in February, is Monday Night Raw is filmed overseas, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show. It looks like shit. So they get the lowest rating they could possibly get. WCW is
0
now, this is
0.
Yes. They get the worst rating they've gotten. McMahon turns to Russo. Okay, so we're going to get to where the Attitude Era started. This is where I thought it started, and I put it in the notes, is that cage match that Hart had with Sid Vicious. And he says, he knocks McMahon down and says, this is bullshit, and you hear it live on TV. I don't know how I happened to be watching when this happened, but I was watching. He says, this is bullshit. You know, you guys screw me, everybody's fucking me, and if you don't like it, tough shit. And I was like, whoa, how did that get on TV?
Yeah.
And from there, it's Austin Hart double switch at Mania. Shawn Michaels loses his smile. They don't really know where they're going. They put the belt on Taker. Or I take it back. I guess they kind of knew where they were going, but they still had some bullshit mixed in. They still hadn't gotten to where it was like, oh, it's a deal.
It's still cartoony slightly. They're trying to get out of that.
Right, but they turn Hart, so they turn their big good guy that's been the good guy for 5 years, and Austin is now, he gets the main event with Taker at the next pay-per-view in May, April, somewhere in there. Now they're going, hey, let's fucking go. We got to do something here. They start pushing a little bit harder. Sonny starts wearing a little bit less. Marlena with Gold Dust is starting to look like, oh shit. Sable is now hitting your TV screen more.
More Sunny for me than Sable.
Exactly. They haven't gone all the way, but they start with this Canada thing. And they booked all these Canada shows. They knew this was coming. It's not like they didn't know. And this went over. This is what got me kind of back watching a little bit more. Not completely in, but in enough. Did you guys like... it's such a stupid thing, USA versus Canada. It makes no sense. But it went over like fucking hotcakes.
Yeah, fuck Canada to this day.
I don't think they realized it to happen to where like they would be such...
But they knew they were going to those Canadian towns.
A lot, yeah.
I mean, those were booked ahead of time.
I wonder how that was in Canada, being Canadian, watching that. You were like, yeah, fuck the USA. Yeah, fuck you guys, eh?
No. Is that... I mean, because Hart's bad. Then Pillman joins. Now they've got Davey Boy and Owen and Jim Neidhart.
Do you think he was a bad guy in Canada at the time? I don't think they could have sold him as a bad guy ever in Canada. He might be going out there shitting on America, and they're probably like, yeah. Think about it, man.
Well, and from the beginning, he says, you know, I'm still a hero to my people. It's you guys. You're the shits.
Fair.
You're the ones that turned on everybody.
Yeah.
You like these jerk-offs that are bad guys, but I'm still your hero.
I got moral. Yeah, that's true. He was pulling the, I'm a good guy. Why don't you fucking like me, dickwad?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, probably didn't get that cussy, if you will, if that's a word. But
Well, no, I mean... It's just an odd thing that worked. I've always found it strange that got over so well.
Yeah.
But anyway, good time to talk about this guy. WCW, their big guy never wrestles. He sits in the upper deck.
Way better than wrestling, dude. That was it for me during that period. I waited for fucking 9:58 for the end of the show for Sting to come and do the overage. drop out of the rafters, lights to go off, show up in the ring, whatever happens. Here comes the big cool fucking vulture or whatever he had at the time. That was great. Events the Scorpion Death Drop, which was a horrible inverted DDT, but it was cool at the time. I don't know. I thought it was great.
What
Didn't
was the
talk for a
reasoning
year.
for them? Was he hurt?
No.
So he was making that fucking money to do nothing.
Takes nearly, he takes about 14 months off. Pretty insane.
And then what was what was the build for?
Well, I mean, he was the saving grace. I mean, he was the guy that was going to save their promotion from the NWO. And look at all...
That's not really how they played it, though. At first, it was everybody thought that he might be the guy turning.
You're right,
and then he does the whole, the only thing's for sure is that nothing's for sure. Mike drops in and he doesn't talk for 15 months.
That's how it... God, didn't even have to do a promo. I forget that.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything.
Not even a woo. The first thing he did say was a woo in this first match. We weren't even sure. I wasn't sure that he was even going to do that.
You're right. Till the end.
Yeah.
But he was as big as Hogan without even stepping...
Easily.
For a match, anyways. Didn't step in the ring. But look at all the stuff they did with him, dropping him from the rafters.
The multiple versions of him.
The Night of 1,000 Stings or whatever the Sting Army.
Yeah.
Where they're walking guys in, just getting beat up, and then he finally comes. That's my favorite one they did.
Yeah, whenever they would take the mask off, and then they finally took it off, and Sting's actually there under that mask. It was great.
Bagwell hits him, he doesn't move, and then he just clears him. Dropping the net on him for them to beat him up, dropping fake Stings into the ring, and then they pull him up and beat him up. Then the second time they do it, he's under the ring, and he comes up.
Yeah, dude, it was great.
Fucking awesome. I don't know who came up with all that shit.
Me either, but that's what I'm saying. That's why those last 8 to 10 minutes that they play at the end of the show, that's really what I was waiting for every week.
Obviously, Vince Russo.
Obviously.
Yeah. Even though he was in WWF.
Yeah. He was mailing them in.
He was helping him.
He was sending stuff to him?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that explains it.
Obviously.
He's responsible for everything good that happened in wrestling in the 90s.
It's true.
We'll just
That's
ask
what
him.
Cornette said.
Well, you say you waited till the last 10 minutes. So you still had 2 hours of
I watched it all.
other things to watch.
Yeah.
Cruiserweights.
Cruiserweights were cool.
Did you like them?
I thought they were pretty good. I liked their matches. You know, they were kind of flippy-floppy, but yeah. Who was the big ones at the time? Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio was starting out. You had Jushin Liger, Thunder Liger.
A little bit.
Who else?
Jericho.
It's past it. Yeah, Jericho as when he was really starting to perfect his mic work.
Yeah.
I remember like when he first flipped over.
Not yet.
When he first flipped over, I remember I was working in a computer store and a guy who worked there was just starting to get into wrestling. He's like, I don't know about this Chris Jericho guy. I'm like, just wait, dude. There's very few people right now who can work a mic like he does. And he got going, and he's like, man, you're right. That guy is great.
When he got going, and this is up till about he got going in January of 98. He wrestled Flair, and then he flipped his shit. Dude, as soon as he became a bad guy, and would go out and start talking, I'm like, where the fuck did this guy come from?
Yeah.
Like, I'd always see him be like, God, he'd always do that, come on, baby! Every time he came, and that was all he did. Mm-hmm. And then he'd wrestle. And he'd wrestle Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero.
He was just Lionheart, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, fuck, we didn't even say Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, yeah.
And Benoit's wrestling some of these guys. Not often. He was a horseman, but he would have... When they weren't doing...
Dean Malenko.
Yeah. Fuck Malenko. Yeah. Stinko Malenko.
Yeah.
The man of 1,000 holds.
Do you remember what what killed the cruiserweights for me was during the NWO angle?
Prince Iakea in there?
Oh, yeah.
What about the dancing Alex Wright?
Oh, yeah, Das Wunderkid.
Das Wunderkid.
Berlin, as he eventually comes to one of the worst angles ever.
Das Wunderkid.
Yeah. Boy, he was a turd. Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
But
so they had that's the sizzle, and then you've got the steak. You've got Luger, the Steiners, Sting, the NWO, and they keep throwing guys in the NWO.
You had Savage at that
X-Pac
point.
was the big cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot about that.
Six-Pac.
Six-Pac, that's right. Yeah, damn.
Let's keep this straight.
Yeah, because we're going to flip, and then we're going to have to change his name next show.
No longer the 1, 2, 3 kid. He's added those all together. 6.
1 + 2 + 3 = 6.
Checks out.
That it does, Edward.
So here's my thing. So like I liked it. I was really into it. I was always a WWF guy though. I always for whatever reason I couldn't quit watching it. I would go back and forth. I would usually watch Nitro on that second airing once they started doing that. For what I would
I don't
miss
remember a
flipping
second
back
airing.
and forth.
Will they play it right after something?
They'd show it right again at 10.
I think that's later.
It's later on, yeah. But
that.
I remember there was a point in time it was so good. I'd watch the first hour, then watch 8 to 10 of Raw, and then or 10-15 because it'd always go over, and then kind of catch up and watch that. But they started doing silly shit like the Nitro girls, and which they were hot, but instead of having your traditional valets or just having what WWF was doing with the girls, they decided to have a dance team, and it was fucking stupid.
You didn't like that. You didn't like the Nitro
Kimberly
girls.
Page and think she was the hottest thing ever.
I don't remember anybody not thinking. You
I
ever gone
thought
back and
she
watched
went in
them
Playboy,
dance?
man.
Have you ever gone back and watched them dance?
She was insanely
bad?
hot.
She was so bad.
They say that all the Nitro girls hated her
I can only imagine.
because they were real dancers.
Strippers.
Real strippers.
Yeah, and then she wasn't.
Well, she
She's
couldn't.
not
she
a
couldn't-
whore
she
enough
couldn't
to
make
be
it.
a Nitro girl.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I actually heard that yesterday about all the heat she had.
She's
ever
one of
sucked
the
dick for crank?
She's
No.
one of the all-time hottest women to be in wrestling. I think.
I think the hottest probably.
She's up
I
there.
loved her.
Sonny was hotter.
Stacy Keibler,
Dude, I'm telling you.
Never mind. Stacey
Kimberly
Keibler. When she
Page.
got a little older.
Sable.
Kimberly Page in her prime. Yeah, and keep in mind,
Nails.
they didn't do a lot to market her. I mean, she never got the. No, I mean they gave her the Nitro girls, but she was never. She didn't have a Sable push. She didn't have the Sunny push.
She did. She did start coming out with Paige though, right?
Yeah, and that's when
where
she
she
really
started.
looked hot because she started dressing down some when she was the valet. The problem is, Nash and all these guys talk about it as how fucking amateur hour their promotions were, and their marketing department was. And he was like, I got there, and he was like, there's no reason Vince is killing these.
Buy a shirt.
No wonder why Vince is killing these guys. He goes, they don't know how to fuck. I mean, he was like, the merchandise was shitty. He goes, they didn't.
How many of those NWO shirts do they sell?
Well,
$20 a shirt or 2 for $40.
He had
Whatever comes first.
He had a hand in that.
Those guys were funny as fuck.
He helped those guys kind of change the marketing and all right, yeah, you need to quit putting all these fucking bright colors on the shirt and just do a black and white fucking NWO shirt.
Cheapest shit to put out. You
Remember
can make
them
$1
wearing
billion.
That's why that shirt got. That's why Austin 316 got over.
Yep, because it
Simple.
was plain.
Did Austin, the original Austin 316, have the skull on the back?
No.
I don't
No,
think
I
it
remember
did.
that.
No, it was just plain. That was just it on the front.
There were several different types with the skull on the back, but
Oh, yeah, we'll eventually get to that.
did you guys anybody here own an NWO shirt? I had one.
I didn't. I was just gonna say that
I got it
never had
way after it was quote unquote cool though. So.
Hey, I mean,
When they started showing up cheap at Walmart, I got finally really I'll buy an NWO shirt.
Isn't that
Fuck
the
it.
truth?
Yeah.
And we talked about the merchandise the other day, how you couldn't walk into anywhere, Walmart, Target, Venture, whatever people had in their town. Everywhere you went, this is when it gets to not quite yet. We'll jump to 98 eventually. But do you remember Nitro parties?
Remember that? How they
At
would
colleges.
do? Yes.
I do remember that.
They'd
now.
go to Duke. They'd go to North Carolina State. They'd go to Kansas. They'd go everywhere. Everybody was having these freaking parties, and they'd send in tapes, and that would be the place they'd go to next because your party was the best one.
Didn't they send Gene Okerlund out for a lot of those?
Okerlund, I mean,
And the Nitro Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
isn't that crazy? They had parties to watch wrestling.
I mean, I remember having pseudo parties for, pay-per-views. Have a bunch of people over.
Well, yeah, because those were expensive back then.
Yeah.
$30 was a lot.
35, I think I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
35?
I remember buying them at
maybe.
35, yeah.
This goes in the. You can talk about 8,000 pivotal moments for WWF, but SummerSlam '97 is really where it all kind of goes down. like you guys were saying, Owen Hart breaks Austin's neck.
Had it coming.
Michaels hits Taker this is when Michaels is working on coming back, and he hits Taker. Hart wins the title. The Hart Foundation, this is in New Jersey. A lot of this is filmed outside the arena for Wrestling with Shadows. Wrestling with Shadows and something else. They filmed a bunch of things for
Beyond the Mat? Was it that one?
I'd have to see Beyond the Mat again. I thought Beyond the Mat. They might have followed people around for 2 years to get that out. But this is where it kind of gets to the flip, because this is where Shawn Michaels comes out of that. He joins forces with Triple H, and they're kind of running together now. Austin's out. So Austin doesn't wrestle from August until November. So this is when Austin gets – this kind of got me seeing, like, what are they doing? He stuns McMahon at Madison Square Garden. He's off and running. This is – Sable is getting more screen time. Sunny's still doing her thing. But they're getting a little more –
risque.
Yeah, they're saying shit on the air that they don't normally say. This is when DX gets going. You know, they start making dick jokes and things like
when
that.
When was Cornette doing his
another good point
address to wrestling? Like he would do these.
It's around. God, if I had to remember the first one, I would have said October. Right after the Michaels and Undertaker cage match, because that's when I went to that in St. Louis. I hadn't really been watching. My brother's like, we got to go. Shout out to my brother Nick.
That's the Kane one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's also the same day Brian Pillman died. So there's the first casualty of, Pillman was hot. That Gold Dust thing where they were dressed in Marlena, slutty, things like that things they didn't normally do. That was good.
That was good.
Okay.
I like slutty.
But that was good. I mean, they lost Pillman, and I think he was only going to get bigger as they went.
Sure.
That angle
Pillman was a great worker, man.
Well, but the Pillman angle was going to end with her leaving Goldust to go to Pillman.
Right.
And kills that angle. I mean, it was actually a really big deal. And I mean, that's getting right into more people saw that interview with his wife, and they were like, whoa, kind of going, yeah.
Bad taste or not, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Really,
I can't.
I mean, they did it in the same fucking room that they had done the gun angle.
They did it the next night.
No, but the gun, I'm saying gun angle, it was the same. I mean, like.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't move after he shot himself.
That's true. What? Shot himself.
Or however he died.
The gun angle was lost, and they shot it in the same
Right. I'm talking about they didn't move after Pillman died, shot himself.
Right. No, and, that was a big deal around, I mean, for wrestling fans, it was a big deal. But the NWO, the WCW thing is still going. They're still winning ratings-wise, still going, but DX, I mean, I remember in our football locker room, we were already doing the DX chop by October.
Was there anything more annoying than that goddamn DX suck it chop?
Right.
Everybody on the planet who was an asshole little bastard was running around yelling suck it at everyone. To me, it was the quickest way to make me want to punch you in the face.
Oh, it became the biggest thing they did.
I agreed. It was fine for them, but every little bastard running around doing it was just annoying.
Yeah, I guess.
It was
a lot funnier when we did it.
It was more annoying, but not quite as pathetic as the guys who went around doing the,
Yeah, I don't remember people doing that much.
Oh, man, I seen it.
The NWO.
Yeah,
Wolfpack, yeah, Wolfpack. God, forget that was that.
The NWO red and black.
Right. But this leads to, I say, probably the biggest thing, not the biggest thing to ever happen in wrestling, but the biggest moment of this war, and that's the Montreal Screwjob.
Fair enough.
And
many, many tales have been told of the Montreal Screwjob.
What's your take?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. It seems exactly like what happened. Vince decided to not let Brett take the title to the other, or not drop. Okay, let's go back. So Brett, his contract was ending.
Right.
He was planning on going to WCW.
Right.
Vince knew that. He wanted him to drop the belt to Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
But the problem was they were going to be in Canada for his last night, and Brett refused to drop the belt in Canada to Shawn Michaels.
Let's go back a little further. His contract was not up. He had re-signed.
Oh, he did?
He had signed a 20-year, $20 million was the way they put it. And that was back January, somewhere in there. January, December 96.
10, 11 months prior.
Yeah. And it came to where
Vince wanted out of it, didn't he?
Yes.
That's what it was.
Vince wants out. Says, look, we'll negotiate it to where we can get you set up down there. Hart doesn't want to go, but, it's the way they played it anyway.
Sure.
Okay. So, they're going to Canada. Go ahead.
So, as I was saying before, Vince doesn't want to give him or let him keep the title, as he knows he's going to WCW, right?
Correct.
So, as far as I know, the only two people in on it were him and Earl Hebner. Not Dave, right? I can't remember exactly.
The way the story's told, it's Vince, Shawn, Hunter. Only three that know.
So, so Shawn completely plays it like after it's over that he doesn't know.
Right.
Well, okay.
For 15 years.
Back to story. Match happens.
God. 10 years, 7 years, whatever.
Back to the story. The match happens. It basically ends on a roll-up and a quick pin. No, it was a submission. He had him in the sharpshooter.
Puts him in his own fucking move.
And Hebner immediately calls for the bell saying he gave up. Hart's pissed, kicks Shawn Michaels off like a fucking fling, completely showing that his own finishing move is nothing to get out of. That was kind of dumb, I thought.
He grabbed the ankle like he was going to reverse it.
Oh, that's right. Still, either which way. Then he gets up all pissed off, starts spitting on Vince McMahon, writing WCW in the air. Then he goes to the back area, asks Shawn in the locker room, anything about it? Shawn's like, I had no clue, I swear on my children's life. I don't even think he had children. But I don't even think he said that. But you get my point. It's the point. He's completely and adamantly denying it. Vince comes back. Apparently they have a closed-door meeting in which Brett clocks him.
Right.
And then where does it go from there? I mean, that's pretty much the end of that night.
Yeah. The only guy, they say talent has a rebellion. Really, Mick Foley says he doesn't come to work the next night.
Over that?
Yeah. And they convince him to come back like, look, fucker, you're going to get paid by one guy. Here's the deal.
Yeah. Well, good for Mick Foley, you know what I mean?
Hey, took a stand until he realized.
Appreciate that.
Until he realized he needed to make money. Yeah. Let me poke some holes in this.
Ooh. That's how I was
as
born.
This story has been told 1,000 times. We'll probably even do one single show on this. Okay. So they're filming Bret Hart through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They know this match is going to be in Canada 3-4 months whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know how far the plans out were. Number one. Oh, what is number one?
Start with A.
Okay. Hart is wrestling this match. McMahon is down there from the beginning.
Which has got to be weird.
It is weird.
You gotta wonder. Do you think Brett was actually cognizant of the weirdness of that at the time? Why are you down here?
Well, that's where I'm getting to.
Okay, go for it. Sorry.
They wrestle the match. Brett goes through with a finish where Pat Patterson says, hey, we're going to put you in your own finisher. You're going to reverse it. And when he reverses it, they had called for the bell. He had taken his foot. Shawn Michaels had him in that for maybe 10 seconds.
Yeah,
when he reversed it. You would normally sell that longer. You would normally work your way out of it.
Right.
At least back then, still today, he would have at least sat back on it.
Well, you don't devalue the move, you know what I mean, by just putting a limp version on.
And if you go back and watch, Hebner calls for the bell. I almost feel like Brett can see out of the corner of his eye he's going to call for the bell and grabs the foot to forced Michaels to his face down position. And the camera immediately goes to Bret Hart's face. And Bret Hart's like, what the fuck's going on? Kinda. He's, my eyes, this is a great acting job. And, I mean, that's why people still try to break this down today. But he gets up, spits in his face. They film all of this. Shawn Michaels gets up, does the worst acting job of why did you do this I've ever seen. And
that's a good point.
And he's sitting there, he grabs the belt, kind of acting like he's pissed off. Briscoe walks him back because they're afraid. I mean, I can understand if they were legitimately afraid of a riot.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody knew what happened. It had gotten bad. If you can see Michaels in the middle of the... Early in the match, he rolls over and he's like, that's some fucking heat, huh? And he's got him in a headlock or something. He's like, God damn. They immediately cut away as Michaels goes to the back. They don't film WCW where he does that in the air and he destroys all that stuff.
I've seen footage of that.
But it wasn't shown live on the pay-per-view.
I got you. Okay.
They show all this afterwards.
So they don't air it. They film it, but don't air it. Gotcha.
Wrestling with Shadows is being filmed. They film backstage. You never see Michaels on TV. He might have been naked, and who knows what's going on. When he's talking to Hart in the locker room, you never see Michaels. You hear his voice. He's like, "You didn't have any part in that, Shawn?" He's like, "God is my fucking witness. I want nothing to do with this."
Yeah.
They show McMahon go in there. Then they show McMahon coming out on...
Triple H was hanging around there, too.
He's getting yelled at by Hart's wife.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which I can see her not knowing.
Yeah.
McMahon comes out on Queer Street because he just got knocked out. Quote, knocked out.
You think this whole thing was a work is what you're getting at here? Or are you sure of it?
McMahon never sold anything, though. Look at all the shit he got in the ring, tore both quads. This is 7 years later. And sat in the fucking ring.
He could go through some pain. Why would he sell that?
He had that spinal fusion where he wore the neck brace, but still took bumps a couple years later. Come on.
That's a good point.
He lets them film this and show it. He doesn't sue him.
Wow.
There is no way. I can't say that. There is a way. But I can see him going to Bret Hart and saying, look, maybe they're selling it to the sheets like, hey, we can't come to an agreement. Maybe they couldn't come to an agreement. How about this? We fuck you over. You leave here hotter than a firecracker. I think that, but then I think, man, you want to fuck yourself that bad? But maybe McMahon had enough foresight to say they're not going to know how to even play it down there. Fucking Hart didn't go on TV for like four to 6 weeks after this. How? How is he not immediately on TV?
Yeah, you would think.
I don't care what your thought process is in WCW. He should have been on TV immediately. Now, to poke holes in my story, Hart goes on and says, oh, it's all fake anyway. None of it mattered. He says that on Canadian TV on that Off the Record show. But at the same time, the way they're playing it, they had the 2 weeks later, Michaels brings out the midget Bret Hart, which is fucking hilarious. He said, with the Hart's coming up a little bit short on the offense, just great shots at him. But Davey Boy and Neidhart leave, which makes me think they're not in on it. So I can see it being a double twist on it, making Michaels think he's fucking Hart and McMahon really being the only two in on it, because he was old school. He helped run a promotion.
Man, you're blowing my mind.
And I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but come on. The more you look at it,
and you're almost convinced me. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy either. Contrary to popular belief.
It's just the more you think about it, the more you can say, come on. Yeah. talked into getting beat by your own finish.
In your own country. You can't really write it any better than
leaving an out guy by saying, oh, Hebner told me he wouldn't screw me. You leave your out there. Like you leave another theory over here.
And in a business to where no one can keep a secret, do you think it would have been kept this long?
If it's between two guys.
Yeah,
two guys.
Because the joke could end up being on Sean and Hunter at that point. Like, yeah, you think you're oh, boy, that'd be great if you would have worked Sean and thinking you're screwing over Brett.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh. All right, this is a good place to end this week's show.
No, we got to finish that. We still got a couple things to clear up here.
All right, what do we got?
We got Sting and Hogan at Starrcade. The worst match they could have possibly brought out. And he beats Sting. It was almost a squash. Pins him 1, 2, 3. Supposed to be a quick count, but it doesn't happen. What do you guys think of that?
Who was it? Sorry.
Sting and Hogan. Starrcade97, basically the biggest match in the history of wrestling at that point.
It was Sting's return.
Right. He looks like shit.
Yeah, because he's so rusty.
No, he just wasn't built like he used to be built.
Yeah, he was kind of frumpy at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah.
When you're wearing a trench coat, you can let yourself go a little bit.
Well,
he had a lot of ding-dongs in the rafters. They were black and white. He's black and white.
Yeah, this is a lot more to cover, and you guys are definitely not interested. Maybe we'll stop here. Maybe we'll get to...
You blew my mind with the whole...
Maybe we'll get to the beginning of 98 because Tyson comes in. We've actually got a ton of shit more to cover. And... we haven't even gone that long. I thought we'd be longer than this.
About an hour right now.
All right, then we're gonna stop here.
I love how you're like, God damn it, we got to end. I love this.
No, we're getting into the biggest parts because we'll stop. We'll get back to Hogan and Sting, and I think they fucked Sting.
And I'll definitely have more time next week too. We should be able to really do a good long show.
They fucked everything. I mean, like this is when you start like a lot of the sabotage, and then like the crazy shit behind the scenes, and WCW starts going on that ultimately becomes the demise.
Right, but you've also got Goldberg just coming up.
Which
the Goldberg thing was
fell
great.
victim to that. I mean,
the end of it, yeah.
A lot of things. So, what's your take on so far? Okay, let me tell you. At this point,
what ship would you rather be in? Is that what you're saying? Like,
yes.
At this point in time.
Oh, WCW by far at that point.
I just say WCW because of the pocketbook they had. And you don't.
Not only that, do you see this company not being in business in 3 years?
No. I mean,
is that how long they had at that point? I guess so.
Dude,
98, 99, 2000, they're done by March of 2001.
As quickly as that thing became a rock star and printed money, it was going out just fast.
That quick.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to call Bischoff this weekend and see if you can talk to him about it.
I mean, dude, the guys that were making like six figures, I want to say 600, like $300,000, that was just nothing for them to give to like Karl Malone for a fucking
one shot.
Yeah.
Let's get Karl Malone Hog Wild or Road Wild or whatever we're calling it this time.
Yeah, let's send him to the middle of North Dakota with a bunch of fucking bikers.
Good idea. That was the Harley thing, though, wasn't it?
or whatever.
I don't know. Road Wild, Hog
Yeah, it was in
Wild,
Sturgis. That's South Dakota.
Do you see... I did. Do you see WWF nipping at their heels?
I don't know. I don't really recall, to be honest with you. 20 years ago, mate.
I am watching both as hardcore as possible. Literally flipping the channel for every...
That's pretty much how I recall it, is just
every
back
segment,
and forth.
Every DX segment, every time Austin came out, The Rock is just getting into rock mode. They are fucking burning hot, and WCW is still beating them every week.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
They're at 70 weeks at this point. 70 straight weeks of beating them. Going into the end of December.
I remember that being the big deal back, it was a 4.1. Or, and they beat him by 0.2. They had a 6.3 share every week. It was the ratings.
Yes. Like when we come back next week and we get to Hogan Sting, they're at 70 weeks. They've got 3 months as the top dog left. And it's I can't fucking believe I was still watching this shit. They had fucked so much up. It's incredible. They go to 3 hours. I
remember 3 hours. I thought that was great. Content, I guess, was kind of...
They had enough talent to run a good 3 hours. They just didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Because probably an hour and 10 minutes was the NWO trotting 70 members to the ring.
Oh, yeah, from
getting
Scotty
them out of the
Norton
ring. I mean,
It's a lot.
we could do a show alone on the NWO, the makeup of the NWO, the wrestlers in it, and how shitty some of them were.
You think you'd stay for the whole thing?
No, I'd get really fucking frustrated.
5
by
seconds
the
to
time.
answer. How many eventual NWO sub-sables?
There was 5.
Name them.
Red, black. Then they had the
LWO.
Chinese, whatever. They had the
Oh,
Japanese.
NWO Japan.
And then didn't they have the Italians, or they had the
Same colors, I guess.
what was the other one?
Green.
The Latinos.
Latino, yeah.
There's only 4, right?
Black, red, Latinos,
Japan.
Japanese,
Chinese. NWO China.
NWO
4.
Asia.
East Asia.
And then I'm sure there was some other fucking break off of it that we just can't remember.
I don't know about that, Tim.
I don't think so, Tim. I don't know.
What was the max number at its height? Was there like
67. I don't know. A lot.
Max number, they probably had 15 guys in it.
Oh, there was no
way
way.
more than that.
Dude, they were filling a fucking ring.
Maybe you guys could do some research around this joint and we'd
Hold on.
know these answers.
Okay.
Now you're out of line.
Now we're
All
done.
right, that's it. I quit.
Okay.
Have a good week.
So we're breaking off at Hogan and Sting at Starrcade. When we get back next week,
I actually want to watch that match.
Tyson comes in after, Austin is just beyond, he's white hot at this point. Austin's hot. DX is the biggest thing going in WWF along with Austin. And the ship is kind of having its first cracks in WCW. We haven't even talked about ECW.
Fuck yeah.
We've got a lot to cover. So pick up with the story next week at the end of December 97. Monday Night Wars, we're still getting going. Facebook.com, #Three Horsemen Show. Twitter.com/, Three Horsemen Show. Or you're putting it on me. I thought you were putting it on the screen. You can see it on the screen, those of you. And YouTube, you're joining us. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Thanks for listening. Thanks for doing all that. We're going down memory lane. If you guys have got any points that we haven't made, send us emails right on YouTube. You can go on iTunes. You'll find everything you need to find. Check out the website, lineupmedia.fm. We're the Three Horsemen Show. Our logo's the best on the site. You'll find us pretty easily.
It's pretty good. It's
So-
probably the best podcast logo of all time.
Probably.
Just saying.
How about definitely?
Just saying.
That's it for this week. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Who's out?
For Big Easy, for T.O., for Corey. We're out of here. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.